one of the great things about sending love waves is like people start sending you love waves back too, which is really fun. So you just start creating this culture where people start greeting you with a lot of warmth and enthusiasm, and or you start feeling like people around you wishing the best for you. So as you ripple it out, like eventually it ripples out to them.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And on today's podcast, I bring a very important topic of relationships. If you don't know, the human body, in fact, everything in life is meant to be connected. Every single cell in our body is connected. Every single cell does its unique role. It plays a unique part and it serves every other cell in the body. And if a cell doesn't do that, then well, actually systems start to fail, tissues start to fail, organs start to fail. So relationships is something that is built into all of complex life. That includes the relationship we have with other people. In fact, relationships is something that builds oxytocin in our body. So we are meant to connect not only with people, but we meant to connect with the earth, plants, our friendly pets and animals. We are meant to connect. In fact, the deeper we connect, the more physical we connect, the deeper we feel that connection, the more oxytocin we produce. And oxytocin, as we know, actually helps with our gut issues. It also lowers our blood pressure. So oxytocin is a very healing hormone. Loneliness is actually something that is linked to chronic disease, and also linked to a shorter lifespan. So learning how to build relationships, learning how to nurture relationships, learning how to actually have relationships that improve our health and also improve our performance is of utmost importance, which is why I am so happy to share this conversation I have with a relation and human connection expert, Jessica Encell. Now, before we get into the conversation, if you are new to the podcast, welcome in. This is a place where I have the privilege of interviewing the world thought leaders, experts in the fields of relationship, of health, of longevity, of human potential. And it is my utmost desire that you walk away with a nugget, with a tidbit to be able to implement into your own life so that you can achieve the next level of you. If you are new to the podcast, just joining us in the journey and want a quick starter to the work that I provide, go ahead, get your free performance and longevity guide at thrivestatestarter.com. This is also the beginning of the year, and I know many of you want to be able to keep track of your progress. And so I have a great free resource for you to be able to look into your life, audit your life in the 7 bioenergetic areas that are most going to contribute into your bioenergetic state, which is sleep, nutrition, movement, our thoughts, our emotions, our relationships, and purpose to really get you into the Thrive State. And if you want that free resource guide, go to mythrivestate.com/toolkit. And if you are a returning listener, thank you. It has been a couple years since this podcast has been on. It has been through your support that I've been able to get better and better guests on the show. So thank you for your support. If you haven't done so already, it really helps the channel out if you were to download the podcast and leave us a review on all audio platforms. And if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button so that you don't miss any further episodes. This conversation I'm having with Jessica Encell is actually a conversation I had within my Thrive State Summit, where I had the opportunity of interviewing icons like Dave Asprey, Vishen Lakhiani, Bruce Lipton on mental health. And we know relationships play such an important role in our mental health, but as I mentioned earlier today, the relationships are very important for us to get into our Thrive State. It is not only important for our mental health, but our emotional health and physical health as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy this beautiful conversation with the master of human connection, Jessica Encell. Hello, and welcome back to another session of the Thrive State Summit. I'm your host, Dr. D, and with me today is a truly special soul, special friend. And I am just pumped. I'm excited because we already shared a couple of minutes. And it just really goes to show that when you're in the presence of somebody that truly sees you and they are on a frequency and vibration that's different, that
people actually feel this, and it can transform someone's day, someone's life, someone's year. With me today is Jessica Encell. She's a good friend of mine, and she's a true luminary in the realm of human connection. And today she's our guide with an astounding track record of sparkling over 900,000 connections worldwide. She is recognized as one of the most foremost experts in creating a connection and experiences that foster community and a deeper sense of connection. Her work has touched tens of thousands of lives, and she collaborates with the top conferences. She just came back from Deloitte. She's spoken at Burning Man, many events, organizational and transformational keynote experiences. Her commitment to building bridges of authentic connection has her share the stage with global visionaries such as Oprah, Jeff Bezos, Eckhart Tolle. Please welcome Jessica Encell to the Thrive State Summit. Jessica, thanks for being here.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I need the cheek massage after hearing you share my intro. It was making me smile so much. I love hearing all that delivered through you and through your energy. And to anyone, everyone who is listening, who's watching, thank you so much for being here with Kien and I today. We're so excited to have this interview together and to share it. And our intention for anyone listening is that if you're hearing this right now, we hope that you are uplifted, that you are supported, that you are elevated, that you get specific practical tools that you can use in your life to help make more meaningful relationships, to connect more fully to yourself, to the people around you, and to your full experience of life. So if you're listening, we're just so honored to have you here with us. And thank you, Kien, for having me here at the Thrive State Summit. I am so happy to be here, and I'm so excited to dive in and see where our conversation takes us. I'm stoked.
Oh, wow. I'm stoked too. I could tell you I have goosebumps right now. That's just how infectious your energy is. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but I've shared two experiences now with Jessica. One, it was, I believe, Vishen Lakiani, who's another speaker here. It was his birthday party. That was when I first met Jessica. And I remember in that session, I don't even think we didn't know each other yet. And as you were speaking, I swore you were just speaking right to me. You felt me. I'm like, is she giving me like some personal? And she was speaking with everybody. And then I experienced another one of your transformational interactive experiences. We'll get into that in a second. And let me just tell you, it is transformational when you can truly wake up from not being in your head, but being in your heart and being with other people. It is truly magical. But I have to ask, you are an expert in creating these experiences. Can you share a pivotal moment in your life where you felt like this is something you needed to share with the world? What was happening with you to create this?
Oh my goodness, yes. So it's more like a pivotal philosophy that I've always had. So I don't know where it came from. I've just always, like, inside of me had this belief that there are three core subjects that if our world was focused on learning these as like the core subjects, everyone studied them like in first grade and second grade and third grade, like up to a master level, like what would our planet look like? And so to me, these three core subjects are: one, how do you have an extraordinary relationship with yourself? So this includes your physical health. What would our world look like if everyone in first grade was learning how to take care of their body? In second grade and third grade, and it was just like part of the core curriculum. So how to take care of yourself, which is your body, but also your mind and your emotions. Like, obviously, our world does not have training. Most people don't have training in how do we take care of our mind, which is one of the most important things I believe you could ever learn. So there's this core subject of how do we take care of ourselves. This second core subject of how do we create extraordinary relationships with the people around us, which, again, we could be learning like at all these different levels, and it could just be part of our collective knowledge and our collective like art and science and mastery of how do we develop meaningful relationships, which without that knowledge, people go through life and they just have to try things and experiment themselves. And we don't do that with all these other subjects, like with science or with math. We learn from people who have studied it. And so it's interesting in relationships, one of the most important subjects that we have, that we don't get formal training on it. And so that manifests in so many different ways. That manifests as high divorce rates, that manifests as not being able as a society, as a planet with billions of people, to have countries and different people get along. So imagine if we actually all were training in how to have great relationships, both interpersonally, all the way out to the global level. So that's the second subject, is how to have extraordinary relationships with other people. And the third one is how to have an extraordinary relationship with our planet, how to take care of our planet. So to me, I've just always been fascinated with, these are the three core subjects: great relationship with yourself, great relationship with the others, great relationship with the planet. If everyone learned that, I feel like that would just help us create the most beautiful world that could exist on planet Earth. And without learning those things, that creates the type of world that we have now, where people struggle with their personal health, both mental health and physical health. They struggle with relationships. And then, of course, we have different sustainability issues with the planet. So I just always believed in these three core subjects. And I'd be in school and I'd be thinking, like, I love learning. I love history. I love writing. I love science. I love learning. But why are we having like once a week a life skills class or a health class, and then the rest of the hours of my week I'm learning about dates of wars that happen? I'm learning about chemical equations, but no one's telling me what to have for breakfast or how to resolve a conflict or the things that I actually think everyone needs to know in their life. I've always been fascinated by those three core subjects, and for the past 15 years I've just been studying and learning about all of them as much as I could. So I went to NYU. I created my own major that was about connection and sustainability and consciousness, of merging these subjects together. And I was able to find a lot of information about health, a lot of information about mindset and personal development, and actually a lot of amazing information about sustainability. But when I tried to find information about the second category of creating extraordinary relationships, I could find like marriage counseling or tantra, or like some things that were just didn't feel like the 101 of like, how do you just create great connections with the people around you, whether it's a romantic partner or a best friend or a parent or a child or a business partner or the person you're talking to at the grocery store. Like, where's the 101 basic level classes for just extraordinary relationships? So I really couldn't find it. I was looking everywhere. And eventually I just felt like I have to just start trying to discover what I can find that's going to work in this area. And so I spent many years both experimenting, but also thankfully I was very blessed to find a person who's incredible, not just a person, like a master teacher of relational dynamics. And so I trained for 8 years, like almost 60 hours a month for 8 years in her relational dynamics laboratory training, which was like immersive, in-person, interactive, like hands-on learning about relational dynamics, how to do conflict resolution, how to create clear communication, all these different practices that when you stack them all together, they help create extraordinary relationships. So the pivotal moment was like being always so drawn to these three core subjects. And then throughout my life, it's just been and continues to be this learning journey of where can I learn the best practices and how can I develop the best practices for people specifically in this second category of extraordinary relationships? How can I learn them and how can I share them? And so that has led me to create the Magic of Human Connection, which is where we connected at Vision's Party, and then where you've experienced a session, which is just really about taking all those best practices, fitting them into 90 minutes, and then giving people an opportunity to feel like how much untapped potential there is in the way that people can connect. So,
Oh, so beautiful.
Moment.
A few things here. Number one, I just want people to get what is possible when you follow your curiosity, because it was one of those things that just led you to just desire to know more and more. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the magic of human connection is truly magic. And we're going to dive into that in a second. But I have to say, one of the things that we know is a risk factor for disease and early aging and death, unfortunately, is loneliness.
Yeah.
And for as populated as the world is, and even for people that have people in their life, they still feel lonely. And I don't know if it's a result of never feeling like you're able to express yourself authentically, or feeling like you always have to walk around with a mask and not being truly seen. Why do you think there's such an epidemic of loneliness? And what do you think might be the initial steps that those people might take to be able to spark a little bit more connection and magic in their life?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I want to say to anyone who's listening to this, or anyone who might be hearing this and resonating with that of like feeling lonely, I really view it as like a cultural experience. Like I don't view it as it's an experience that many individual people are having, but I really feel like the root is so cultural. So I like to say just like our physical body needs certain key nutrients to thrive, there's what I call soul nutrients. And soul nutrients are nutrients that only come from other people and from positive relating. So loneliness, to me, an expression of a lack of these soul nutrients. Like to me, that's my definition of loneliness is if you were to go get your blood work done and you were deficient in magnesium or D or something like, okay, you have a vitamin D deficiency. If you have loneliness, you have a soul nutrient deficiency. And just like our physical body needs certain nutrients to thrive. And to me, like scurvy is so interesting because it's the simplest fix. Eat an orange occasionally. But scurvy was a big mystery for like about 300 years. Millions of sailors died because they didn't know the cause of scurvy. And it was just one simple vitamin deficiency. And so similarly, we have so many people experiencing loneliness and a lack of soul nutrients and all the different ways that manifests. Like scurvy has symptoms, a lack of soul nutrients and a lack of positive connection with other people. That has symptoms. It can be depression. It can be suicide rates. It can be, gosh, so many different things. Eating disorders. It can just be like a feeling of loneliness or a general sadness. And so to me, like just how it can be as simple that people might need an orange or some vitamin C to cure scurvy, like loneliness, you need soul nutrients. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that you can just give yourself all the love you need, everything you need, that you can fill your own tank. And I feel like this is actually one of the big things. If you're feeling lonely, there are two. There's the tank that you can only fill yourself. And it's so important that we all learn to hit our 100% in that tank. But then there's this other tank that you can't fill it yourself. Our body doesn't produce vitamin C internally. That's why we need it from the outside. Similarly, if we want to produce these certain soul nutrients that we need from other people, we have to receive them to fill this tank. And so I like to imagine, just as vitamin C is a simple fix, what if a prescription for more hugs could cure loneliness? What if it's a prescription for, hey, spend 3 hours a week with friends? There can be social prescriptions that could actually be part of healing these very real physical and mental experiences that people have. So if you're feeling lonely, I think it is oftentimes like a chronic nutrient deficiency that we have culturally of these key soul nutrients that come from positive relating. So one, if you're feeling it, you're ironically not alone in feeling lonely. And so don't personalize it too much. And then I know you wanted to talk, so that's my take on loneliness, but I know you wanted to talk about like steps that people can do if you're feeling that way in a first step.
Oh, for sure. Can you list maybe some of the, and this might be in some of your steps, but can you list maybe a couple of these soul nutrients? I think hugs might be one of them. What are some of the other ones?
So soul nutrients are nutrients that you only get from positive relating with other people. And examples of those include hugs, healing touch, laughter, loving community, being encouraged. Encouraging and contributing to other people is a huge soul nutrient, which we'll probably talk about in a minute with ways to cure or start to step away from loneliness. But yeah, soul nutrients are the things that when you think about what do you receive from other people, whether it's healing touch, whether it's just community, it's the things that you can't get internally that come from social connections. Yeah.
So good. And you were going to talk about maybe some of those initial steps. And so what might some of those things be? Say I was a lonely person and maybe potentially in my head a lot and potentially not feeling safe to connect. What might be some of those baby steps? And then we'll get into some of these great things that we see in the magic of human connection as well.
Yeah. So I learned this so fully from my relational dynamics teacher who really just drilled over and over, like whatever you want to experience in connection, like lead that yourself. So if you want to feel more included, be more inclusive. If you want to feel like more welcomed, be more welcoming. If you want to have more open, honest conversations, be the one to bring that in and lead what you want. So one of the biggest recommendations I have, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling like you want more connection, be a spark of connection for other people. And one super simple way you can do this is you can pick a frequency. It can be every day. Even if you did it once a week, if you did it once a month, you would still feel a difference. But to initiate a positive interaction with someone else with no strings attached. So the way that I love to do this, and the way that I encourage people to do this, is to send a love wave. So if you're feeling lonely, like my first recommendation would be send a love wave out to someone else. Like as much as we are maybe needing more connection, be the spark that gives that to someone first, and you'll initiate a spiral of connection. So a love wave can be as simple as sending a text saying, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm thinking of you. If I were to send one to you, Kien, hey, Kien, you just came to mind. I just wanted to send this out of the blue message to tell you I love you. I appreciate you. I'm thinking of you. Sending you love. I hope you're having an amazing day. Like, that short and simple. But if you're feeling disconnected, you can be the one to reach out and create connection bridges to the people in your life. And the more often you do that, and the more you send love waves, the more you actually start to have this flow of connectivity between you and all the different people in your life. So that would be my first step. If you're listening to this and you feel even a little bit lonely, think of one person. You could even take your phone, scroll through your contacts, land on a random, this is my cute dog, Talila, land on a random person and send this to anyone in your contacts. That's also what's special is that it's not you in particular who, it's just the act of reaching out and connecting is so powerful. So first step, send a love wave as small as a short text up to maybe an advanced level of love wave. You send a 2-3 minute video message to someone out of the blue. Think of you. Here's what I appreciate you. Here's a happy memory I have of us. Here's what I see you working on that I want to celebrate. And yeah, the more you can actually extend out, even if it starts with a baby step, I think it's really powerful.
Oh, it really goes to show a lot of the speakers here in the summit have really talked about sometimes when you feel like you are stuck in these emotional states and you're in your head, the best way to do is just close the attention you have to yourself and start to put your attention elsewhere. And this is a great one. And so give us a couple more if you have them.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So tools. So we talked about loneliness. Should we branch out? And I know you and I were brainstorming a little bit before about like general tools for connection and tools for connection with maybe a romantic partner, tools for enhancing connection, maybe with a group of people, maybe at work. Like, where would you like to go with this?
Oh, this is great. Look, we were just talking about romantic relationships in our conversation before this, and I do know because we have Dr. Stan Tatkin here, we do have Brian Yang, relationship experts in the Mental Health Summit. They were talking about attachment styles, things like that, but we do really talk about how to connect. And so, do you have some simple tools where if we potentially got into an argument, or if people feel like they haven't been listened to, or there is some potential friction, how do we start to break it and start to reconnect after friction? It seems like you can't wait to share this answer. So,
Oh my
I can't
God.
wait for you to share this.
I've only spent years and years studying and practicing and learning and doing all these intensive learning environments where we're doing exactly this. So it's like I'm a perpetual student of it. I don't consider myself an expert, but I do consider myself a highly passionate student of this topic. So I can share what I've seen that is helpful. So first, I'll start with just referencing someone incredible, which is John Gottman. So John Gottman is an incredible relationship expert and researcher. And so he, through his research, was able to discover that if he could observe a couple for 10 minutes, then he could predict with 94% accuracy if they would still be in a relationship in 10 years. So he has an extremely high ability to predict this. And it's not his gut sense. It's actually like an algorithm and these different behaviors that he observes and he tracks. And there's behaviors that either build up and enhance the longevity and the success of a relationship. And there's behaviors that if you continue doing them, then they point to the unlikelihood of that relationship sustaining. And so what I love about that is that you can take that philosophy and it doesn't just have to apply to romantic relationships, but we'll talk about it here first in that context, is that there are recipes for success and failure in relationship. And a lot of people just, I hope we stay together, or I hope this works. But there's actually like pathways. It's if you follow this path, you have a really greater chance of success. One of the things that I love with John Gottman that can be applied to romantic partnerships is this idea of really having a relational bank. And that every time you're having an interaction, you're either like investing and putting more and more credit in your relational bank account, or you're like withdrawing from it. And the bank account credit is going down, or maybe you're even in debt. So a lot of times what I see happens in a relationship, especially a romantic relationship with couples, is that if you have like tons of credit in your relational bank account and you've been having positive interactions, you've been really contributing and fulfilling each other's love languages, you've been having all these things that add lots of credit, then one little thing can happen and it's just like it just bounces off. There's this cushion where you almost don't even feel it because there's so much cushion in your relational bank account. But let's say you're like, you got $2 left in your relational bank account and someone withdraws three, and three may not be a big deal normally, but all of a sudden you feel like dad just pushed me into debt with the relational credit that I have. Or maybe you're already in debt and every little thing is just starting to like exponentially be like gritty, like you don't have that cushion anymore. So one of the biggest things, it's a very broad idea, but is to really take inventory of like your relational bank account and what are the things that you can do as a partner to be contributing. And if each partner's thinking this, how can I be contributing? How can I be adding net positive to our bank account? That there's so many specific practices and tools about how to do conflict resolution, how to honor each other's love language, and how to know your partner's love targets. And that's really fun. And we could deep dive on any of those too. But the broadest idea is make sure that you stay in a positive in your relational bank account, because that gives you cushion for all the inevitable challenges that are going to come up anytime you're trying to work long-term with anyone, whether it's a romantic partner or a business partner or a friend. Like anytime you're working long-term, you're going to hit those moments. And if you have extra credit in your account and you have that buffer, then that makes it so not every little thing becomes a big thing.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for thrivestatestarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You can find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at thrivestatestarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed. And please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
So good. Now, you mentioned a couple of resources. You mentioned the 5 love language, which certainly I think most people are familiar with, but if not, please consider that. And then you could speak and give to your partner's love languages. But what might be some resources and potential general practices that you find are just easy and give me so easy to throw it into the bank account that people might not be aware of?
Yes. Okay. So this is one of my favorite ones. One of my favorite ones is learning how your partner loves to be greeted and practicing it at least once a day. So we'll do this in a couples program that I teach. We'll do this where we'll have people act out and discover, find what are some of the ways that like just 10 out of 10 makes your partner feel loved when you greet them. Because greeting someone is like, whether it's in the morning when you wake up, whether it's when someone gets home from work, that's the start of how you're setting the tone for the whole interaction for the next hour or the whole day. So what I love to do, I used to live in a house with several other friends, and we came up with this kind of culture where anytime someone came over to the house, whether they were the person delivering water, whether it was a housemate, whether it was a friend of a housemate, everyone would stop what they were doing, put down their computers, put down their phone, put down their spatula in the kitchen, whatever they're doing, and do a big cheer, like big, like round of applause, like welcome to anyone who came in the door. So when someone brought mail, like, they'd get this wonderful greeting. And so you want to bring that same spirit to your partner, especially as you have a more long-term relationship. Every day and every moment that you get to see your partner, like, is a cause for celebration. And so we have to like bring that energy, not just, oh, hey, or you're texting, you're like, what's up? It's pause and celebrate. So for some people, this might look like the moment your partner like walks in the door, like you run up to them and you jump on them and you give them a big hug, or maybe you pick them up and you spin them around and you give them kisses. You say, I'm so happy to see you. Like, and it takes 30 seconds, but it has set the tone and it's added credit to your account. Or maybe like the way your partner loves to be greeted isn't so enthusiastic. Maybe just walk up to them, you hold their hands, you look in their eyes, and you just say, I'm so lucky to have you in my life. Maybe it's sweet and gentle. Maybe it's like energetic. But if you can ask your partner, hey, can you model for me? How would you love, ideal case scenario, your fairy tale movie? How would I greet you when you get home? Or how would I greet you in the morning? Give me a 30-second demo. Have your partner demo for you and do a model of like, how would their voice sound? How would their body language be? How would they look at you? If your partner can model that for 30 seconds and then you can do it and say, hey, is that it? Did I do it? Is that in the spirit of what you want? If you just do that 30-second thing every day, and it doesn't have to be like you're acting, it doesn't have to be like you're checking a box, but if you can, it's like a target, like you can hit their bullseye of a greeting. I feel like that's a really powerful, super easy foundational step you can do.
Oh, so good. And I recognize that how we meet and how we lead each other are so important because it bookmarks our experience together. And so what an awesome tip. Now, I know you do so many things with groups as well. And I got to say, the magic of human connection, this interactive experience that Jessica leads both online and in person is truly amazing. I could only speak, and it's probably in a couple of years since experiencing that, but I could just say that energetically, I just feel more alive. I feel more connected with the world. I'm less in my head. And so much of what we do and so much of the cues and prompts you give us is to allow each other to be truly seen and felt. That's what I felt like I was seen. One of my old traumas is not feeling like I belong. I was a boat refugee coming into America and always being teased for being Asian or for being short or having holes in my hand-me-down clothes. And I never felt like I belonged. And there's a story that goes on in my head a lot of times in social instances where they're like, hey, they're not going to like you or they're only faking it and things like that. But I could truly say after the experience I was with you in the magic of human connection, I truly felt seen. How do you create this magic?
I love hearing how seen you felt, Kien. It makes me so happy, and I can't wait to have you at another Magic of Human Connection soon. I'm planning one for LA. Wow. You know what? A lot of what we do in Magic of Human Connection is really about like changing the filter of a lot of what I heard you describing had to do with the inner voice. And, you know, I don't belong, or carrying these stories or these experiences that you've had, which most people do. And then it's like a bad, you can edit your photos and make them look brighter and more beautiful. And it's like, there's a lot of things where people just have this filter in our inner voice that is like editing our reality, but we're so used to it. That's just how we think the world looks. Like we just think it looks judgmental, or we think it looks non-inclusive. And we are more seeing the world through this filter rather than realize what we talked about in the beginning. Hey, you're actually influencing the world. You can make the world brighter. You can make it more inclusive. You can include yourself. So the inner voice is so influential in how we feel seen and how we see other people. So that's what we start with in Magic of Human Connection. And for anyone listening, Magic of Human Connection is just an interactive experience that I create that guides people in all the best practices I found to experience like peak connection with the people around you. And so how we started that experience is just a lot about seeing people. And so we'll walk around and imagine that we've been teleported to the best art gallery in the whole world. And you practice seeing everyone as a masterpiece and as this beautiful, perfect creation. And so what happens is when you start to see everyone around you as a masterpiece, and you're this room full of people where everyone's looking at you and seeing you as one of the masterpieces in this room, it's so healing. It's so transformational because we go through the world and we don't know what people are thinking, but to be in this concentrated space where everyone is thinking positive thoughts for each other. And we'll do another practice after the masterpiece where you go around and you wish the best for everyone. And like, wow, because even though we don't know what people around us are thinking, like we do pick up on things. And so we're not always walking around in rooms of hundreds of people where everyone is really focused on, I want the best for you and for you and for you. And so I think that even though everyone consciously knows that we're doing these activities where you want the best for people, you're seeing the magnificence in people, or you're appreciating people, I think there's something more like subconscious that happens too, where like we pick up, whether it's body language or whether it's our intuition or our gut sense, we also pick up like the intention that people are holding around us. And so it's really healing if you can do this. Is actually okay. So this leads me to a thought that I have about the two different tanks. And have one tank you can fill yourself and one tank that only other people can fill, which is that so much of personal development is like all these practices that you do by yourself. And there's so much untapped healing potential that exists actually in the social context of what happens when you have a group of people where everyone's wishing the best for each other, where everyone's coming together to uplift each other. There's so much untapped potential that exists. And I found it's like one of the fastest ways for people to accelerate and have like high leverage on being uplifted or on healing or on letting go of past stories is to actually do these practices in a group. So we started about how the whole scene, but yeah, I think part of it is just putting yourself in environments. So plants can't thrive, even if it's like the best plant. It's not going to thrive if it's in like an area that doesn't have it. Let's say it's a plant that needs a lot of sunlight. If it has like low light and bad soil and not enough water, and this is like a plant that needs sunlight and water and like this rich soil, it's just not going to thrive. And so people are like that too. One of the most important ways that I believe that we can all tap into our greatest potential is like the environments and the communities and the people and the places that we put ourselves in, because like we're a lot like plants in that way that like you might think, oh, I'm so strong and independent, like I can do fine in this bad soil, but it's really important to have all those nutrients from the environment around you to really reach our full potential.
Science is definitely backing all of this. In my book, Thrive State, I really talk about the bioenergetic state that through your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions, your being, you create this bioenergetic state in your body. And with that energy, you're delivering frequencies to every single cell in your body. And sometimes we get usurped. We have old programming that's leading through some of that stuff that changes our state. And if we happen to be in the program that's keeping us safe and help us survive, we tend to be in a stress state. And we are all wirelessly and energetically connected to each other. And we're starting to be able to prove this. In science, mirror neurons are demonstrating just one apparatus where we could start to just see somebody do something, and then it turns and lights up parts of our brain. So if we want to truly transform, if we want to be lifted, we want our frequency elevated, let's hop in a room where the frequency is amazing. And that is what you create in the magic of a human connection. And hell, as I'm talking about it, I feel the frequency because I have these goosebumps in my hands right now.
I love it.
So I want people to experience this on their own. But before we conclude, are there any other sort of like maybe a few additional nuggets? The ones that you've given us is great. Remember to send a frequency. What was the word? The frequency.
Love wave.
Love wave. You just hit the love wave.
Definitely.
Really be intentional about how the other people in your life want to be greeted. Those are two real things. Are there any nice and practical ones that people can install easily in their lives that will make a big difference?
I love this, Kien. It's like you're kind of like scanning through like hundreds of different ideas right now. Like, oh my gosh, which one should I share? Okay, so let's do a few. So we talked about romantic partnership and the greeting, which, like you mentioned, also can be applied anywhere. let's talk about relationship with yourself for a moment. One of the things, relationship with yourself, it's like you mentioned, this bioenergetic frequency that you're emitting. The more that we can tap into our inner, like our highest state, our highest frequency, and share that and help uplift the people around us, that is only going to amplify and elevate every experience that we're in. I'd like to give a few. Okay. The one for yourself is gratitude walks. This is the biggest thing that I've done. For the past 10 years, every single day have gone on a gratitude walk. It has changed my life. It has changed my frequency. It is like the best thing ever. Anytime I'm with friends or anywhere that I can bring them with me, I do. And then I'll hear from people years later. I still do gratitude walks every day. It's so powerful. So for yourself, to connect more with yourself, I highly recommend walking and for 5 minutes, set a timer and just say out loud everything you're grateful for in that moment. It can be things that happened yesterday. It can be things that you're seeing in the world around you. It can be for having this amazing, brilliant body with trillions of cells working together, creating this extraordinary human experience, giving you the ability to see colors and to smell things and to taste your favorite foods. Like gratitude walk, practice for yourself. So if you just let's create like a little menu of a few simple things you could do that if you do them every 24 hours will have a big impact. So let's say you do this 5-minute practice to connect with yourself. 5 minutes out loud, can't be in your head, of saying what you're grateful for. Then you see your partner, or maybe you don't have a partner. Maybe you get to work, or maybe you get on your first Zoom call, or maybe you see your neighbor. You greet the people throughout the day, whether it's you practice it once, or maybe you practice it with everyone. The Amazon person comes and brings you a package. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I really appreciate this. Like, you always do a great job. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Like, greet people with this intentional, positive energy, like not just transactional, not just on to the next thing, but really practice the art of a great greeting. And if you have specific people in your life, ask them how they want to be greeted. Then send a love wave. Okay. Yeah. And then I'd love to end with one that's just more global. Talked about yourself. We've talked about partnership. Love waves can apply to your broader community. And now I also love to think the underlying foundation for me and the inspiration for Magic Human Connection is really like world peace. That's what I'm most excited and passionate about, is what happens when you have billions of people working together, where all the relationships, all the interactions are like creating this positive spiral of upward energy. Because I really believe that people, like, they need to create. So if people don't know how to create positivity, they'll like maybe subconsciously create something, and sometimes that's drama. So as a society, we all need to create. And so learning how to create with billions of people where it's all uplifting and it's all creating energy is so exciting to me. So I love to think about like the world peace potential that's possible with all these tools. And with that, I'll share one of my favorite quotes on this topic, which is Dieter Doom. He's the founder or co-founder of Tamara, which is an eco-village in Portugal. And he said this quote that I love, which is, "There can be no peace on earth as long as there is war in love," which basically means that if we can't figure out how to get along with one person, how are we going to create world peace? Like, if we can't be kind in a moment where we're frustrated with our partner, or if we can't resolve a conflict well with our children or our best friends, like, how can we then apply on a global scale the practices of world peace? So this next practice is more in that world peace vein. And that is to take 1 minute when you're out in public. So you can do this any given day, but to take 1 minute and every single person that you pass, wish the best for them. You can do this while you're driving and in traffic, and you look around, you see the car in front of you, to your left, to your right. It takes about 3 seconds with each person, but feel like, I wish the best for you. Like, wherever you go on the rest of your day, I wish you're happy. I wish you're fulfilled. I wish you're safe on your drive. Maybe you do it when you're sitting at a cafe, when you're at the grocery store, when you're on a Zoom call with all your colleagues or with your clients. Just look through each person and say in your mind, I want the best for you. I want the best for you. I want the best for you. So that's, if you do these practices, wishing the best for people around you for 1 minute, send a love wave, greet people in this intentional way, do 5 minutes of gratitude. I think those are the key ones we talked about. Like, you do that every day, that is going to totally turn up the volume on your sense of connection. And it's also really going to create this ripple effect where then the best thing, or not one of the best things, but maybe not the best thing, but one of the great things about sending love waves is like people start sending you love waves back too, which is really fun. So you just start creating this culture where people start reading you with a lot of warmth and enthusiasm, and or you start feeling like people around you wishing the best for you. So as you ripple it out, like eventually it ripples back to you.
Oh, so beautiful. Oh, man. You guys need to try the magic of human connection. And I know Jessica has something very special for the people that do the VIP. And so when you get the VIP, you're not only getting all the recordings, all the transcripts, for this amazing summit, but you are also supporting 4 mental health nonprofits, including Rare Impact, Good Days, Genius Recovery, as well as the Trevor Project.
My wish is that if anyone experiences anything with me, that they say that was life-changing. Like that's really the standard that I have. So if someone comes to Magic Human Connection, like the most common feedback is that was life-changing. And so I don't really want anyone to experience anything less if they're going to invest their time and energy with me. And I have not figured out yet how to create a life-changing PDF, but I just absolutely love getting to share a lot of these practices that I mentioned and so many other ones that we didn't get to talk about today in these live interactive experiences. And it actually gives people an opportunity to come together in community like we were talking about, where you're with hundreds of people who are having the intention to uplift each other. And I will guide everyone live, interactive through these practices. You will laugh, you will crack up, you will play, you will connect. We're uplifting each other. These experiences are so special. I thought at the beginning of the pandemic, like online is not going to be as cool as in person. And I love in person, but I was wrong because there's so much goodness that can be created online. So you'll have access to join one of the really special experiences.
Jessica, thank you so much. And I have to say now that who you are, your vibration, your frequency, and what you're sending out to the world is so healing. I knew this conversation alone. It is certainly the highlight of my day. So thank you for that. Jessica, thank you for your love, your frequency, who you are as a person.
Thank you so much, Kien. I just adore you as a friend and just as an amazing person in this world. So I love and appreciate you. I'm honored that you invited me to be part of this summit. And to everyone listening, I hope that our intention we set at the beginning for you to feel uplifted, nourished, and also have practical tools. I hope that we've met that, hopefully exceeded that. And thank you so much for being here and listening to our summit interview. We appreciate you all.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you have subscribed to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breathwork, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.